Hello Game Boys and Game Girls, I'm the Game Boy Guru, and welcome to another pickups video. And like last time, we have pickups and we have arrivals. So, let's take a look at what I found a few days ago at a game store. One of the game stores here in the area has been doing this sale where some of the more common games for each system just kind of go onto a special shelf, and then those get priced really cheap. So the price stickers that you see on the games, it's not what I paid. So let's start with Xbox. We've got Need for Speed Carbon. We've got Hitman 2 Silent Assassin. For PS2, we've got Medal of Honor Frontline Greatest Hits. Had Frontline for quite some time, but haven't found the Greatest Hits version for whatever reason. Also have Tony Hawk's Proving Ground, which I didn't even know existed. Ford Racing 3. Back to Xbox for a second here. We've got the Call of Duty 2, the Big Red One, Special Edition Platinum Hits. That's a mouthful, but yeah, that's a thing. The original Need for Speed Underground on Xbox. Also finally scored a copy of Splinter Cell Chaos Theory for the original Xbox. For whatever reason, I had not picked that one up yet. And a game called Shadow Ops Red Mercury. The threat is real. And yeah, looks like another kind of tactical action military game there. This was the one game I picked up that I wouldn't normally, but you had to buy so many games in order to get the deal, and so this was like my bonus game. And so that is Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2005. And curiously, this is one of the few GameCube games that has 2 discs. So, not sure why that is, or what makes that a big enough game that it requires 2 discs, but why not? Also got Hitman 2 Silent Assassin Greatest Hits for PlayStation 2. We got Burnout Dominator for PS2. Assassin's Creed 2 Greatest Hits on PS3. Sonic Mega Collection for the GameCube. And I've had the Sonic Mega Collection for a number of years, but that has been the Player's Choice Edition, whereas this is the original print run, or at least the original packaging, without the yellow Player's Choice at the top. So cool to have the original copy of that. For Xbox 360 here, I got Battlefield Bad Company 2. We've got Black Site Area 51. And Stuntman Ignition. This was a nice find on PS2. Legacy of Kain series Blood Omen 2. Very cool to hear that, or to see that. I got the South Park, The Stick of Truth for PS3. And finally, in this batch, the original Assassin's Creed for PS3, the vanilla version. So, very cool. Like I said, really good deal on all these games. Nice way to kind of fill in the collection with a bunch of games that I wouldn't necessarily have picked up otherwise. A couple of these, like the Sonic Mega Collection, possibly the Stick of Truth, a couple of these Xbox military shooters, that kind of a thing, are games I'd probably play anyway. Blood Omen 2, but a lot of stuff like this, I tend to try to wait until I can find really good deals like this before I pick it up. I went out yesterday and did a little bit of running around and picked up a few things, so I thought I'd show those off. So I added a GameCube game to the collection here at one of the local Goodwill stores. Actually, it's a Goodwill Electronics store. And so typically the Goodwill stores in this area are not supposed to sell video games on their own. When they come in, they're supposed to ship them off to the Goodwill Electronics store so that they can be sold there. Unfortunately, what that means is the Goodwills here are usually pretty much empty of anything video game related, unless they're PC games or the occasional PlayStation game. It also means that the Goodwill Electronics store mostly has their games way overpriced. They usually want $8 for a Wii game, and I mean a Wii game that might be worth $3 because it's terrible, or because there are thousands upon thousands of them in the wild. So anyway, I did find a couple of things though. I got Nigel Mansell's World Championship Racing. So scratch that off the Game Boy list. And I also managed to pick up, this was a pretty good find, and I thought it was priced reasonably enough, and that is the Hitman Trilogy. It is a box set. Box was in reasonably good shape for, being at Goodwill, other than, this nice little punch on the side there. But it has Hitman Blood Money, Hitman Contracts, and Hitman 2 Silent Assassin. And so these are all in really good shape. And this is pretty cool. The Hitman Blood Money has a Kane and Lynch Dead Men sneak peek disc, videos and screenshots, just a little DVD there. But yeah, everything is in really good shape, and so pretty cool to see that. And that'll be a nice one to put on the shelf alongside my Devil May Cry collection. Unfortunately, the guy who checked me out at the counter slipped the Game Boy game under there, and so as soon as I got out to the car, I immediately pulled that out so it wouldn't bulge the box out. But pretty cool to find that. I stopped at another game store yesterday. I needed to do a little bit of shopping for my nephew's birthday. So I went and bought some DS games for him. And I'm going to move those off to the side here and put those aside so that those are not in the picture, since those are not for me. But I did find a few things. I found a DS game for myself, actually, and that is Nanostray 2. As you guys know, I'm big on shoot 'em ups, and so this was one I didn't have. I'm not sure about... I need to try and track down a copy of the original Nanostray, but was very glad to find this. And this was developed by Shinen, who did Iridion 3D and Iridion 2 on the Game Boy Advance. So yeah, Nanostray 2, pretty awesome find. Picked up one Xbox game, and that is Scalar. Now, I've had Scalar for a long time, but the copy that I bought came with no manual. And since then, I've made a rule that the only time I buy a game without a manual, a box game like this, is if I already have the manual that I found in my hunts, or if it's a more rare game that I want to try and source the manual online. I've not been able to source the manual for this online, so for the price that this was, and for the fact that this store has a buy 4 get 1 free deal, to where I actually got 3 games free when I was out yesterday doing this checking, I figured it was worth buying a clean copy to get an upgrade for mine, and then I can take mine and that can be a trade. So Scalar for the Xbox. Also grabbed some more Wii U games, filling some holes there. We got Warriors Orochi 3 Hyper, one of the Dynasty Warriors offshoot series there. What do they call those? Muso games. Got Scribblenauts Unlimited, and I almost picked up Scribblenauts Unmasked, but it didn't have a manual, and I'm pretty sure that game did. I know some Wii U games never came with a manual, but I'm fairly certain that one did. And then also Need for Speed Most Wanted U, which I've heard is a good version of the game, even though, unlike the PS3 and Xbox 360 versions, it did not have, the Wii U gamepad does not have analog triggers, and so you don't have that analog gas pedal control. But anyway, I got a couple of things here. I got Croc for the Game Boy Color. I'd already had Croc 2, so now I have the first Croc game for Game Boy Color. And also Game Boy version of Darkman. So that was a bit more expensive. Scratch that one off the list. So very cool to find that and be able to finally, like I say, scratch that one off the list. And also grabbed some NES games. So this was more of a hole filler. This is one that I remember seeing in the video store as a kid. It was always, the box for this was always on the shelf, and I was always curious about it, but my friends and I never rented it. And that is Kung Fu Heroes. So it'll be interesting to pop that one in and just see what it's like. Also managed to scratch a shmup off the list, another shmup, and that is 1942 on the NES. I've been needing to pick this one up forever and have just been putting it off because honestly the NES version of 1942 is not that great, and I also have multiple ways to play this game. I have the Capcom Classics Collection. I don't remember if it's remixed or reloaded on the PSP that has a port of 1942. And then I also have what is it? The Capcom. Gosh, I don't remember what it's called now. It's one of the Capcom Essentials collections on the Saturn that came out in Japan. And anyway, it's Volume 1 has 1942, 1943, and 1943 Kai. And that's actually basically an arcade perfect port. So if I was going to play 1942, generally speaking, that's probably the way I'm going to do it. Or it's going to be on the PSP when I'm sitting at the laundromat, you know, waiting for my clothes to come out of the dryer or something like that. So anyway, it's a decent conversion, but some of the sound gets grating after a while, and really 1942 gets kind of boring compared to 1943. It's much more grown-up sibling, but cool to finally have a copy of it nonetheless. Also scratched off a couple of games I've been wanting forever and have just put off and put off and put off because you know, they're expensive to acquire. But I found these for a reasonably good price, and that is Mega Man 2 and 3. So even though I'll probably be getting the Mega Man Legacy Collection for the Switch, and I already have the Mega Man Anniversary Collection on the GameCube and the Xbox, I couldn't pass these up because they were too well priced for as in demand as they are, and the it's great to have the original copies. Plus, they've been sitting on the shelf at that game store for at least 3 months, and nobody picked them up. So I thought, well, I probably better snag them before someone else does. So those are all my finds from out and about over the last week or so. Now let me get into some arrivals that I've got that are pretty cool. So here's one that came in the other day, and scratching yet another shmup off my list, and that is Dragon Spirit for the TurboGrafx 16. And this is complete minus the outer box. Of course, it does have the manual, and whoops, and it has the inside the case. It has the little deal to hold the game in, and of course the game itself, the turbo chip in the little sleeve. So that's nice. Always cool to find it in the protective sleeve. So Dragon Spirit, great game. This is an arcade conversion. I actually have had the NES version for quite some time, and that was one of the few shmups that I have completed a 1cc or a 1 credit clear, without having to continue and maintaining my score throughout the whole playthrough. So I'd be curious to try this on the TG16 and just see. Because this is probably closer to the arcade than the NES version, how much more difficult this one is. One more pickup I forgot was at Best Buy. I got another Switch game, and that is NES America's Penny Punching Princess. I actually almost pre-ordered the special edition of this, which came in a box that looked like a gold bar and had some extras in it, but for whatever reason I didn't make it over there in time to do the pre-order, and so I just picked up the standard retail version, but looks like a fun game. I got a couple of other things from Play Asia, and so this one I was pretty excited about. That is the PS4 physical version of Battle Garegga. Those of you who don't know, this was an arcade shoot-'em-up developed by Raizing, Raizing, or Eighting Company Limited. It was a Japanese Sega Saturn game. There might be a PlayStation version, I don't remember specifically, but this was announced maybe a year ago for the PlayStation 4 that they were doing an updated port. Yeah, this was revision 2016. And so it came out, they did a special edition of this that had a soundtrack and a bunch of stuff, but it was a physical box like Sonic Mania. It was a physical box, but no physical game. Well, this is the physical game. It doesn't have all the other extra stuff, but it does have the game on disc, which is my preference, is always to get the physical media. The cool thing about this, however, is that this has also the soundtrack. So you got the game here, and then the soundtrack, and so that's awesome to see. It is the Battle Garegga Revision 2016 original soundtrack, Revision 2016 Perfect Edition. And it doesn't have a manual per se, but it does have this little card for the soundtrack, which gives you your track list, a little quick guide that actually shows you what your controls are, and then of course on the back side there it's all in Japanese, so I don't understand any of it, and a nice little probably warnings and the usual trademark information, all the legal mumbo jumbo that they have to put in there. The other cool thing is this is got a reversible cover, and so you can see there the artwork in there, and then the cool deal there with all the planes. So pretty cool. Battle Garegga is a notoriously difficult shoot 'em up. It's also notoriously expensive for the Saturn. This game regularly goes for well over $200 on eBay on the Sega Saturn. So to buy the retail version for PS4, I thought was a much better deal, and especially since it came with the soundtrack. But I'm going to look forward to putting some time into this. I messed around with it years ago in MAME and enjoyed it despite its brutal difficulty. So yeah, we'll give that one a go. I also pre-ordered a new shoot 'em up that was just released, and it's a game called Defenders of Ekron. This is the special edition, so of course it's in a larger box here. It came with a couple of cool things here. A little Defenders of Ekron sticker, and you can see it's got the Play Asia logo on there because they released the physical version. It was put out. It was developed by In Vitro Games, and I guess published by East Asia Soft. There's also this cool double-sided card here that's got various different characters from the game. Neat artwork. I like the art style, so that's pretty cool. But it's hard to explain. It's sort of like a scrolling arena shooter in a way, multi-directional. I believe twin stick. But the deal looked pretty cool, and it's got this plastic sleeve that I'm probably going to keep it in. A nice glossy box with minimalistic artwork, but it works. Of course, the nice mech suit there on the front. And once you get inside, there's this little tray deal that pulls out. I've got a certificate number here, 1043 out of 1500. So there must mean that there's only 1500 of the limited edition available. It's a good thing I got my pre-order in when I did. This logo here is embossed, and a little card there. Thanks for your support. So pretty cool to see that. Here's the actual game, Defenders of Ekron, and pretty cool graphic style there. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a fun game. And also comes with the CD soundtrack, and that has a little spine card on the side there. It says music by Action Replay. So yeah, very cool. Looking forward to checking this one out and putting some time into it to kind of see how it plays. Like I said, it's sort of an odd combination of arena shooter and twin stick and scrolling, because I think it's got a variety of different stages, but very cool. And as I said, I'm probably gonna keep it in this outer protective sleeve. I know Limited Run Games sells protective boxes that you can put the special editions in and things like that. This wasn't a limited run game, of course, but I'm sure the box will probably fit it because it was similarly sized to the boxes for LGR releases. However, assuming I can negotiate this into the box here, I'm probably going to keep that sealed away like that until I'm ready to actually throw that in the PS4 and play it. And finally, I did a trade on Facebook and picked up a handful of games, scratched some PSP games off my list. And so I got Sid Meier's Pirates. This is one I already had, but this one came with the manual. My copy didn't, and I have not been able to source a manual, so the Sans manual copy will be going into the trade pile. Also picked up a couple of RPGs. I got Valkyrie Profile Lenneth is complete. Also complete Valkyria Chronicles 2, which is good. This one goes for a bit more money, and not one that I have seen in the wild for a little bit. So cool to find that. I actually got that trade done because I had some Chinese region Game Boy carts. Speaking of Game Boy carts, these came from the same trade. So I got Metal Gear Solid for the Game Boy Color, which was great to find. Scratched off a few more games from my list that I needed for Game Boy, including Side Pocket, Zoop, Marble Madness, finally, and finally a copy of Road Rash. And that one's interesting. I'll have to do a Game Boy Oddities video on this at some point because of some quirks with the game. And finally, scratching a heavy hitter off my list, and that is Castlevania Legends, one of the more expensive games on the Game Boy that I finally get to, like I say, scratch off my list. It is the US release. It is Super Game Boy compatible, so that's pretty sweet. And very glad to finally have this one. So now the Castlevania trilogy on Game Boy is complete. And now that I've done the video of Castlevania The Adventure, at some point I'll be able to write the review of the second game and get that one done, do the video, and then I'll be able to complete the trilogy here. The only thing I need now that would make that any more sweet would be Kid Dracula, since that is tangentially related to the Castlevania series. And so I don't have that one yet, since it'll probably be a while. It's okay that I don't have it right now, but I would like to pick that one up. So if you know anybody that has a copy of Kid Dracula that is looking to wheel and deal, let me know. That's all I have for you this time around. What do you guys think? Any of the games in here favorites of yours, or games that you would recommend I check out sooner rather than later? I know I'm probably going to be messing around with Castlevania Legends a little bit. Probably going to check out Dragon Spirit on the TurboGrafx so I can see how it plays. Also, probably going to mess around with Battle Garegga and Defenders of Ekron. And I just might pop in Kung Fu Heroes on the NES just to check it out and play with it. Since I've been curious about it for a long time, yeah, I might as well. Let me know about some of the pickups you guys have grabbed recently, or anything that you ordered online and got in the mail. I'd like to know what fun stuff you guys have been receiving or finding out in the wild. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at GameBoyGuru. I'll have a link in the description below to my blog where you can check out all my Game Boy game reviews. That's GameBoyGuru.blogspot.com. Also, make sure you check out Nira and his channel. He provided the Super Mario Land overworld music that I use as the intro for all my videos, and he's got a bunch of other great chiptune and game music covers on there as well. Also, if you like this video, consider hitting the thumbs up to give the video a like, and even subscribing so that I know that you guys want more content just like this. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for playing, and game on.